Hi everyone. So I'm Karina. So glad that you all could make it today. A little bit about me before we get started. I'm a homeopath. I wasn't into wellness. I grew up with antibiotics every which way, every time I got sick. But later on, when I had children of my own, I realized that I wanted a different way for them. And so that's when I explored homeopathy. I started learning. And soon enough, I became trained and certified. But my main practice is homeopathy for women, uh, any age, but really it's hormonal imbalances and everything that comes with that. So, endocrine functioning, thyroid, kidneys, pancreatic disorders, but anything that relates to women. And that includes anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, perimenopause, menopause. We know the list. And so meeting Farhana through the platform, if you're not familiar with it, Wellbee has been created to bring together holistic healers from across the globe, whether they're coaches, therapists, practitioners, teachers, mentors, but anyone that's interested in healing and looking to help teach those methods of healing to other people. And so, interestingly enough, through Wellbe, I got the chance to meet Farhana all the way down to Missouri. So these are two people that connected from different countries who probably would have never walked paths ever if it wasn't for Wellbe. So really, really grateful for having met you. But you know what, Farhana, we just recently met a few months ago. I feel like you're a sister to me from another mother. There's so many things about you that I learn every single day, and you inspire me so much. So I'm really, really glad to have you here. But I do not know what you do. So I think I'm supposed to be introducing Farhana here and being like, Farhana does this, but I don't know. But what I do know about her is she comes with so much heart and so much passion in the work that she does. And the people that are here who she introduced as a client of hers or an old client of hers, it goes to show that at some point she's changed your life. So she's here to change lives one day at a time. So Farhana, please, you have the floor. Please introduce yourself. Tell us the great work that you do and help us how to learn how not to overfunction, please.
Thank you, Karina. I'm constantly changing what I do. Just a little bit of a background. I started in the personal training industry over 16, almost 16 years ago. And at about half that time, I had a friend of mine who was a client, actually one of my first clients, and she ended up overdosing on heroin. And at that moment, it was like I was very angry with her because she was going to have to force me to go be a better person. That's all I would say is like, I have to go be a better person. So at about 2017, I started doing healing modalities. So at this juncture, I'm a coach. I'm a wellness coach. I'm a holistic practitioner. And what I do is whatever people need me to do. So as I look around the room, I am a life coach to some of them. I am a personal trainer to some. I'm a nutrition specialist to some. I'm a behavioral change specialist to some. Basically, what I do is I have become very good at understanding women and why they keep doing the same thing over and over when they absolutely intend to do something different. So, over the last 16 years, with a little help from my friends, everyone in this room is basically not only have I helped them, they have helped me through my process. I think Pat has been with me like the longest time at 11 years, but everybody else is like not far behind. So what the reason that we're here today is because as a personal trainer, you think okay, you get a client, and basically that client is, I want to work out and I want to feel better. I want to lose weight and I want to be healthy. And over the course of 16 years, I've realized that wellness doesn't start in the gym. It actually starts between the ears. It starts in where are they? And a lot of times they are not being seen or heard and they overfunction. So, in my journey of trying to figure out what is the root, what is the bottom line, and the bottom line and the root is that we overfunction because we have some kind of wounding. And it could be as simple as not being supported. There are women in this room right now that have been single moms while their husbands went out of town to work. And even though the hubby is supporting the family financially, there was no support on a day-to-day basis. And with that comes the overfunctioning. And even women who maybe didn't have a spouse to help support them as well. Even men who had a spouse, but also took care of their children while they worked. So I think I've called out every one of my clients right now. So yeah, I mean, that is the root problem. And this is why I decided to create this event and call it Why You Never Get to the Bottom of Your List. And the answer is because you never put yourself in priority and everything always comes first. And if we get to the root cause of it, there is overfunctioning, there is a wellness wound. The wellness wound can be one of many things. When I first started engaging in this wellness wound concept, it was because I hate marketing and advertising and how much the fitness industry and the marketing industry has sold to women that you need a thigh gap, and taking you back to Cosmopolitan in the 50s where they were like, put on some red lipstick and some high heels, and when your husband comes home, act like everything's been fine, and don't give him all your problems. So we've been sold to. And so then comes the next wound. And the next wound is we've been doing this. We bought all the gadgets. Went low carb, low fat, high fat, all of those different things. And okay. All right, thank you. And we've done all of those things, and then everything didn't work. They didn't give us what we were looking for. And ultimately, what we were looking for was to feel better in our skin. And so, a lot of times, people are resistant to even eating better, going to the gym, doing all of those things because they have hope fatigue. So, that is pretty much my work over the last 16 years. And I'm going to pause a moment, Karina, because I know I talk a lot. Do you have any questions before I go on? Or if anyone has any questions, please drop it in the chat.
Yes. So I first wanna thank you for that introduction and thank you for explaining what you do and the impact that you have on so many lives. So I have a lot of questions. So I'm just gonna go with the first one.
All right.
I've heard this term from you before, and I hear it now, and you've also mentioned it, wounding. Can you go deeper into that? Like what does that mean for me? What does wounding actually mean? Am I carrying something? Like what does that mean to me?
Wounding would be hurt by. Um, that would be the very best thing to describe wounding. So if you I'll give you examples. Wounding number one, my father called me a bodybuilder. And in my head, the terminology is like, I'm not a bodybuilder. I know what a bodybuilder looks like. And so therefore, there was anytime I went to go work out, anytime I went to do something, it was like, why should I need to be smaller because he thinks I'm a bodybuilder. women that I have worked with um, have been shamed by, are you going to eat that? Didn't you already have a cookie? And that is where we get hurt. So wounding is hurt. So you can transfer that word. If I've been hurt, then and I haven't healed that hurt yet, then what happens is then the inner child shows up and it's she wants to retaliate and she's like, I'm gonna not eat one cookie. I'm gonna eat two cookies and maybe I'm gonna eat three cookies just to rebel against my mother. So that is what wounding can translate to, is that pain and then also that subconscious of I don't want to feel this pain anymore.
And so, how does that affect us if we're carrying the wounding and we're not aware of this wounding? What happens to
It
us? Like,
yeah, it carries on in the way that you overcompensate in other ways. Let me add one more thing to my list. Oh, they can't do it right. Let me do that. Oh, they need help. Let me help them. Oh, I need to show them I love them. So we carry burden that shouldn't belong to us because, it's easier if I do it myself. So we're wounded, and then we don't want anybody else to be wounded. We don't want anyone to be hurt by what we've been hurt by. So then we take everyone else's stuff. No matter how much I can handle it. I'll speak from experience is that my husband just recently established a new career. And there was a moment where I really wanted to take the burden away from him and I wanted to do too much. And I just stopped. It was like, this is not helping me. We have a thing in our house that he makes the dinner, I do the dishes. And I literally would stand there going, I do not want to do another dish. But in his head, in our heads, it's like you should do the dishes first, then you can go sit down. And I'll just throw the sponge up and I'll be like, nope, I'm not doing another dish, right? Because I want to take away his pain and I want to take away his burden. But in doing that, I'm putting too much on myself. And then it translates into don't talk to me. My favorite thing is lately has been, you sure do wear a lot of clothes. And he says, I try to wear clothes every day.
so that makes me think if we're trying to remove someone else's burden, right? Are we confusing taking away someone's burden for love? Like, are
Yes,
we overextending because we feel that that's how love should be expressed?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because our inner child, when we were wounded, right? When your mother wouldn't let you have the candy, or she told you that you looked fat, or all of these things, that translated in my feelings got hurt. And so, in that translation of my feelings got hurt, I don't want to turn around and hurt your feelings. So if you ask something of me, I'm going to take it. If you need something, I'm going to take it. If I notice that you're struggling, I'm going to handle it.
So is it love then?
I don't know. Is it love then? Who defines what love is, I guess. If you happily do it, and you don't feel exhausted from it, then it's love. If you do it and you hate it, then I think that you're doing it out of obligation. I see some heads shaking yes. Yes. Okay, good.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything to comment? Like any experiences that you can relate to when you nodded your head? Feel free to unmute yourself and chime in. Because I know for me, I've got adult children, I've got life, work, and sometimes we do confuse and we don't realize that we'll do something out of love, but then in retrospect, we're depleted, we're exhausted, we're not feeling good. And that kind of tells us that if after the action we've overextended ourselves, maybe that wasn't love because we kind of ignored us.
Yeah. And Gabriella just asked, what if we don't have a choice and we can't throw the sponge? And what I would say to that, Gabriella, is that there has to be a balance. So if you are over tipped and you're over functioning and you're overwork, then you need to look at what can I do to care for myself? What self-care? What can I let go of? What doesn't have to be done today? Um, have I been grounding myself? So there are a lot of questions that I'm coming up with just the comments. So if you want to elaborate a little bit more, I would love to share more with you. But this is where we feel guilty, like this past week, I've had a pedicure, a massage, and a haircut. And those are all self-care things, all self-care items. And, you know, personal services are expensive. But as a trainer, when I first became a trainer, I worked 14 hours a day trying to establish a business. And what I realized is that if I don't take care of myself, I'm not good at taking care of anyone else. And there are days, like, don't get me wrong, like, Karina and I have been working really hard right now to get Wellbee Social off the ground. And there are days that we overextend ourselves. We do more than we should be doing, but it's also a season. It's never going to always be like this. But sometimes, kind of what came to mind is like, tax season. My tax advisor is booked solid from January to April 14th, April 15th. By April 16th, his phone is cut off and you can't find him for months. So there's times where our seasons require us to do more, especially like what comes to mind is like women who have children or families who have young kids. It's harder to manage those children during the summer than when those kids go to school. So understanding what season you're in also helps with that management. Does that make sense?
And so to to continue with that just a little bit, what could be something practical, like concrete, that I could do for myself, say, that could ease the burden? Like how Gabriella asked, what if I feel like I don't have a choice? What are the choices that are there, but I'm not realizing that are there? Like, what could I do? Is it just merely asking for help, or is there something else that I could do that actually lifts this burden combined with the feelings of guilt?
So I'm answering you specifically because I know our culture, Miss Lovely, Beautiful Karina, and I know that our culture requires that. So the very first thing that happens in our culture is that we need to normalize that it's okay to be a woman because I've said this before, and a lot of my clients have heard this. Back when there was a commercial, a cologne commercial called Charlie. And the commercial goes, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man. And basically, what that says, as women who used to be barefoot and pregnant and now are now trying to be an active force in the workforce and be just as good as men, we have taken over. And so our over functioning has become just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm not capable. So, number one would be the realization that we are imbalanced in our energy. We are too masculine in our energy. There is a balance. We are supposed to be masculine and feminine, and we are over masculine because of the world that we live in. But the beauty is that we're moving into a more feminine world. So, getting back to you specifically, Karina, is identifying what you do because even as I go to visit my mother, she will still bring me coffee and cookies for breakfast in the morning, right? And that's a sign of love, okay? But I also don't I'm only there for a couple of days. If I'd have stayed there for a year, she might have a different opinion. So that's where it is for you is what am I doing because I'm taking the burden away from someone else? Because in truth, I, in doing that, am enabling them to continue to do the behavior that they do, right? So it's an identification because I don't think, especially the women that are in this circle now, I know we've been trying really hard to make an online presence. We've been trying to establish businesses, and therefore, we don't get the rest. We don't get the sleep. We don't get any of that. And I knew not too long ago that I had to start becoming and being the embodiment of what I tell other people to do. I'll tell everybody to take a break, but I won't. I'll tell everybody to take rest, but I won't, right? And it's like, but you have to show them. And I'll end it with Karina, you know who you are. And do you wish that over functioning, extending to your own daughter? So I really like using that as an example because basically what happens is that people understand I don't want this for my kid, right? So therefore, I have to show her, not tell her, not do as I say, not as I do, but to show her how. So, did I answer your questions? Do you have anything else in relation to that question?
I do, but first I want to speak from the chat because Pat reflected on something and I feel that should be shared. She says, I'm still traumatized by my mom telling me that at 8 I was a terrible singer. It's affected my love of music.
So, this is an interesting thing. Thank you, Pat, for sharing that. And I did not know that, and I'm so very sorry. And I have been a coach for a very long time, and that is the way that I've been directing myself is to be a coach. And the interesting thing, and not to get too involved in astrology, but my North Node is Pisces, South Node Virgo. And the Virgo South Node is where I've been. I've been a helper. My Pisces North Node is to be a healer. So basically, that is exactly where I'm kind of making a little bit of a switch because women who have been traumatized need some healing support. They need to know that they're not alone. They need to know that other people feel that way. And so, with that, being in community and in circle is where we express our voices. And then we get I'm really sorry because at the end of the day, it really is our inner child. The inner child wants somebody to say, I'm really sorry for what happened to you. And then we go back in and we kind of clear that up. So as an example, I would probably take Pat through a meditation where I would take her right back to that moment in time where her mother, and images just come to me, so just bear with me, where her mother said that to her, and then Pat's new reaction would be to stick her tongue out and go, nah, 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 I don't care. And then what happens is that we correct the past and therefore then we start correcting the future.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you did, what you just did, because it's taking the past at what happened. And suddenly, what you just did is you made light of it. You didn't put so much heaviness because it carries weight and memory and emotion. But if we take that same thing and we tell ourselves and we talk to ourselves and say, well, it doesn't have to have that weight anymore. It
Right.
doesn't. It doesn't have to have that impact on you. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of appreciation. You are worthy to receive. And I think that that kind of self-talk, what do you think about that, Farhana? Just actually just telling ourselves that we're so much more worthy than giving, we can also receive.
That in itself is a wound, right? Because it's like it's like slapping a band-aid on something, right? Like I'm all about, don't get me wrong, I'm all about affirmations and things like that. However, there needs to be another layer before you can feel that. And what I mean by that is you need to understand why you're worthy, right? Just because somebody says you're worthy doesn't make it so. So I've done a lot of research on, like the soul and its woundings and things like that. And it's really helped me understand why we are here, right? So, yes, affirmations work to some degree, but they only work if you believe it. So if I were to say to you, Karina, do 5 affirmations of, you know, I'm wonderful and I'm making these things up, right? I'm worthy, I'm wonderful and all of that, but you yourself don't feel that way, then the affirmation is just going to slide right by you. Because there are women in this group right now that are like, you are so good and da da da. And I'm like, I'm not good enough. And that is the masculinity wounding. That is the I'll never be good enough. And so it really, for me, it took being seen by somebody who is very important to me, and that was my father this past May, to finally be seen by him so that I didn't need other people's external validation because I was very external validation driven, right? And it's a catch 22. Um, I'll pick on Pat. Pat will be like, "You're great. You're doing a great job." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yeah, nah, I'm not good enough, right? You don't know what you're talking about." Because what I really need is that internal validation. So going back to the affirmation concept is that you have to feel whatever it is that you're saying. And that is where the pattern recognition comes from. That's where the healing comes from is well, I don't feel that way. So I'll use you as an excuse as a example, Karina. So I don't feel worthy. Well, Karina, why don't you feel worthy? And then we get down to it. And then usually um my favorite question is why. So we get to the why of why you don't feel worthy, and then we fix that problem. I don't want to say fix that problem. We lessen and lighten that problem so that you can allow it to come back around. Okay, I don't feel worthy again. Why is that? Does that make sense? Now the affirmations would make better sense, if you will.
So they have to be relevant and to your belief system. Now,
Correct.
that being said, is it safe to say if I tell someone, a child or my spouse who is struggling, let me do it for you, or I come up with the solution. So my brain is always working overtime, right? Almost to the extent that suppose the people around me are not working half as much because they know, oh, mom or wife are here, they'll fix it, they'll figure out the solution, and we're working on overtime. Are we chasing work?
Yes, you are chasing it. So giving that child, that spouse an option, right? Rather than I'll take it over. Great example was my husband wanted to power wash the patio, and I said, "You power wash the patio, I'll do your ironing for you." So and we split our chores, and giving an option is better than, I understand that you're stressed, or maybe even, what showed up just now is some breath work. Like I'm assuming that the child is feeling overwhelmed. The very first thing that needs to happen is they need to breathe. And then it always lessens. Is it really that bad? And what can you do? What choice can you come up with? So you give them options. And that's how I coach is I give options because my years of telling people what to do and they didn't do it and then me wanting to slap them didn't work. So I had
Yeah.
to come up with a new idea.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I'm gonna take that because you said you give them options, but you also let them be their own ownership, take ownership of their own life, right? That's giving someone their own dignity back, saying to them that I'm not going to solve every problem for you because I respect your ability to solve it for you. Is that what it is? And you kind of
That
give
is
that
exact.
dignity back to that person, but it also relieves you that burden of I told you so, you didn't listen to me, and look, I did all the thinking here, right?
But we are those overthinkers, right? And that is a trauma response. Like I call it a superpower, but it is a traumatic response. In our Facebook community, there was somebody who posted a reel, and it was a really good one. So if you guys are not in our Facebook community, you should look it up. But in that reel says the husband says, um, I think that we're going to go to the baseball game. And the wife is thinking, and she says no or whatever. And I'm making this story up because I can't remember the actual details, but it goes along like this. The husband says, let's go to a ball game. And the wife is like, well, how are we going to eat? And what are we going to do before that? And we've got this to do and that to do. So she's overthinking because that is what she is. She's the planner. You know, the husband, the spouse, whatever, they just go on a whim, right? Even like taking a trip. Like I'll use an example of let's go, let's drive to Florida. It's like we can't drive to Florida because our bodies ache. The men says that and the female goes, our bodies ache. We can't see at night. How many times are we going to have to stay in a hotel? So you see the difference. And so that's where we have become that. We've become this, let me fix your problem. And it's by trait because I'm a personal trainer, because I'm all of the things, I have tried to help people solve their problems. So we become the overthinkers.
And
You're a mom, you do the same.
yeah, and I like what you just said because it's almost like how many of us blame our partners sometimes for being too complacent and being like, you're so complacent, you're just waiting for things to happen to you. You're just waiting for decisions to be made. But then at the end, you look back at yourself and say, well, maybe I created that environment because I did everything. I
Yes.
planned, I executed, I solved, I was the brain in the house. And so the people around me decided to just take a back seat. I'm guilty, I know. And I would love to see by hands if anyone can resonate and say, yeah, I'm guilty of that. Or I am the complacent one. I see Christine. Um, Definitely her hand was up because we end up just taking it. And then we don't realize that we're actually creating a dynamic where we're solving, we're executing, and everybody else is like, okay, I don't have to do the thinking, but that doesn't actually help them, does it? So it's really not love. So going back to my earlier question, is it love?
I don't know. I mean, love, the question of love just really changes, right? Like, so I'm going to ask the question. We say, is it love? You keep asking me, is it love? But let me ask you this, Karina. If you loved yourself because you were created and you were put here for a reason, and in loving yourself first, then how would you react to all of these things? We keep doing for others because we're hoping that they love us, that they will show us appreciation so that we can find a way to love ourselves. Um, Gabriella just said, but someone has to plan and do these things so they don't get done. That I agree. And I just had a conversation with one of my clients and was like, where is your support? So, Gabrielle, I don't know what your situation is if you're single and doing this all by yourself. So I apologize. But, um, where is the support? Because you've heard the words that say it takes a tribe to raise a child, right? Well, it takes a tribe to lift women and it takes a tribe to support them. And so, yes, someone has to plan or they don't get done if you're over functioning, then that's when we look at your list and go, what needs to be let go of? Because it feels there's like this out of balance. Um, I'll share a personal experience, and that is that I'm also an ambassador to Wellbee Social, and I recall when I first got the position, and I said, "Okay, fine, I'll do video editing," and I'm like, "I hate video editing. I hate everything about this. This sucks. My life is miserable." So I come back, I'm like, "This isn't my thing." And knowing that now I'm social media and knowing that there were things that needed to get done, I was in flow. Dr. Shiva is here. I remembered what Dr. Shiva said about alignment. It's that you're in flow, you're doing it. I spent hours on a Saturday getting it done. I was so great. I was so happy. I was tired at the end, but I was more in alignment with what I was doing.
I like what you said about alignment and causing that excitement. I can see people just like clapping and really resonating with that because it's amazing when you're doing things out of alignment, you do it out of fulfillment because you're doing it out of overflow. But when you're doing something, and I think the best thing would be to maybe introspect as to how we're feeling when we're doing it. Like when
Yeah.
you were doing the video editing, you were getting probably anxiety, frustration, negative self-worth, negative, instead of having the positive affirmations, you couldn't do that because you were feeling so negative about it, about the work that you're doing. And I think every time we do that action, if we have more awareness on how we're feeling while we're doing it, it will probably give us a better indication of this is what it is we're supposed to be doing to begin with. So I think answering Gabriella's question, and Pat even agrees to her question, is someone has to plan and do these things. So what happens if we drop the ball? What happens if we say we feel really awful doing this? Do we just drop the ball and not do it? Like there are certain things our life has to function around. What do we do about those things?
So if the plate is full, that's where the self-care has to be as full. Going back to when I had to work 14 hours a day, I had to make sure that I got plenty of water, plenty of food, plenty of rest outside of there. There was a period of my life, I think I spent maybe 3 to 4 years working 7 days a week. And on that seventh day, I came home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I did not move off of that couch until Monday morning. So that's where, I mean, having being a single mom with children and allowing time for yourself, because it's difficult. It's not easy to have, to do all of that on your own. But that's where I came to realize that the reason that our friends, when they have children, prefer to not be our friends anymore is because if we were going to still hang out with them with their children are work. But if they hang out with people who already have kids, it's actually relaxation to them because the kids play and then the adults can talk, right? So it's not easy. I'm not saying that any of this is like I'm going to snap my fingers and make it all go away. It's identifying where are you wounded, where are you over functioning, where can you give the chore to, somebody else, take a little bit of burden because there's a little bit of guilt there as well. And a lot of times I have seen that people are afraid, women are afraid to admit that they need time off. Remember, we go back to that masculinity, that they want to not have a day with their kids. I just met a friend of mine shopping and she said she was excited. She said, "Today's my birthday. I took the day off." Her son was not with her, so she sent him off to daycare and she spent the day enjoying her day. So, as full as your cup is, your self-care should be as full. And I know that when that doesn't happen, there's a tip off. And what happens then is then the body and the life goes to, whoa, we've overfunctioned so hard that now our body is like, nope, we're not doing anything, right? We got a shaking of a head here. I understand. Yes. Um, so
Gabriella just shared in the chat that she is a single mom. She's got three young kids. And even when she was married, she had to get it done or things did not get done. Some people can go by with just going with the flow, but chaos strikes, anxiety rises, and she goes, I have to be in it to fix everything, everybody's emotional state. And that also from someone whose cup is kind of empty herself because she's been doing this for so long. So, what advice or tools could you give her that she can implement, and she can use and say, maybe something that she can implement today that could help her? Like what would you suggest for Hannah?
again, what comes up, and this is, I'm being silly, but I'm not, right? And here's one of my common phrases, not my circus, not my monkeys, even though they are my circus and my monkeys. And what I mean by that is having to fix everyone's emotional state. Um, in our Facebook community, we talked about this a lot in having to be the person to fix the emotional state. And in turn, what came out of those conversations was that I can't handle my emotional state. So therefore, I need to fix your emotional state rather than finding peace within myself. So, your question is, what can I advise her to do? And that would be that support groups, community, reaching out to somebody, taking a breath, walking outside, getting grounded, and with three young kids, they have emotion. Um, and no one intends, because there was a blind spot card I pulled not too long ago, and it was like, no one intends to be a drama queen. The reason that we're drama queens is because there's something within us that is not good. It's unsettling. So if you are saying that you're having to fix everyone else's emotional state, then I would say, and I am guilty of this myself, so I'm going to call myself out before I even give you advice, is what is it, their emotional state? Because usually children will get happy in the same pants they got mad in, right? And after a minute, they're fine. But then what is our emotional state? So there are emotional releases, there are meditations that are out there specifically designed for that. It's actually witnessing what's the core root of the problem. And what it feels like is just so much on somebody's back that they just don't feel like they have support. And that's a very unfortunate place to be in. But then it's like, I can let this go. It doesn't matter if they don't brush their teeth tonight. It doesn't matter if they don't make their bed. It doesn't matter if they want to wear the same clothes they wore yesterday. Um, you know, it's like, what can I let go of because I myself am overwhelmed. And I don't have my own children, but I throw temper tantrums with my nephews when they were younger. So if they cried, I cried too, just so that they could see what it looked like. So to kind of match their behavior would be another thing. But yeah, um, it's not easy. And as far as that, it's going to go back to self-care rituals, spending at least 10 minutes 3 times a week, if it's the bare minimum of doing something for yourself, sound baths, um, Epsom salt baths, just something that can make you feel like a human rather than someone who's having to raise 3 children and as exhausted from it.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I'd like to highlight a point that you just said and repeat it, in case anyone missed it. What can I let go of? And it's such an important statement and a question to ask yourself when you're in the middle of chaos in the house, to literally step back and reflect, what can I let go of? And what really that means is, what is it that it's not so important that needs to get done? And I like what you said. And as a mom of two kids who are now adults, I look back, and my kids are 19 and 17, and I look back and there were so many things that I could have let go of, that it didn't have to be in a particular way, or it didn't have to be done every single day. I mean, if you're a parent, your kids tantrum just to have a shower. And then once they go in the bathtub, you can't get them out because they don't want to get out. Like everything, I see Christine laughing. I feel like everything is sometimes a struggle. And so maybe today they don't have a bath, or maybe tomorrow they don't have a bath. And I love what you just said. What can I let go of? And literally use that every hour on the hour if you're alone with your kids. Maybe it doesn't have to be this way. And I think once we open our mind to even exploring different ways of how things could be, that just maybe life will meet you in that way and give you those solutions. But we also have to be willing to see it, to see that there are different ways. Maybe it is asking for help. Maybe it is another, if you have children and it's really difficult, maybe a care center or a school or an after school class where they have somewhere to go, teaching self-soothing methods, right? And I think that's even for adults, where we kind of maybe take on, like whether in your work environment or conversations, we take on the emotional weather, right? And we feel responsible, especially if we're like in a leadership position, we feel responsible for the person's emotional weather. But we need to acknowledge that we're not there to solve. We're sometimes just there to be present, to say, I'm here for you. What can we do about this together? But give ownership to that other person to self-soothe, right? Is that, did I capture it? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, and it's a really interesting that you even brought that up because, like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm having an emotional moment, my husband's pretty stable. He doesn't get engaged in my emotion. But the minute that he has an emotion, oh my God, it's like, get over it because I can't handle it. And I think that that's where we differ between men and women. And so, therefore, when he is having a moment, I need him to get over it because I don't have time to deal with it. And I've even said those words to him. I am no longer going to be your emotional support. I cannot handle this. But he never asked me, in the wedding vows to have, hold, and, till death do us part, didn't say to be supportive with every emotional whim. It didn't say that in my vows, right? But why do we take that up? Because we're that problem solver, we're that peacemaker. We know that we can do things better and faster. I'll never forget, not too long ago, and this won't ever happen again, but he took up some meal prepping. And it's not the way I meal prep. Okay. And I walked into the kitchen and I had to walk out. It was fine. The meal prep was perfect. It's just he does things differently than I do. And what do you think happened to me? My anxiety level went up because it's not exactly the way I did it. I'm a control freak. I admit it. But why are we control freaks? We're control freaks because somewhere along the line, we relied on someone that failed us, and therefore we had to take it up. And then we started doing it as a habit. And that's where we start over functioning without realizing it and getting back to this is why you never get back to the end, to the bottom of your list, because you're always putting everyone and everything in front of it. And then you call it love.
That's fantastic. That was so beautifully said. And it's so, so true. Are we willing? I see Dr. Shiva here. She's nodding her head. And are we willing to let go of some of the responsibilities and accept that it's not going to be done the way we would want it to be done, but it's still someone else taking some things off your load? And
Yes.
it might just fill your cup, and whatever it is that you do want to do, you end up serving it with overflow as opposed to depletion.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. That's wonderful, Farhana. And I hope that whoever has come today, there's so much that you've gained from this. We have a comment on the chat. Pat says, as Farhana can attest, it's something we've been working on. I am better, but still find myself backsliding. And that's okay. And thank you for sharing that, Pat, because what that is you're never going to be one way today and then be another tomorrow. The idea is just to constantly remind yourself when you slip back, when you backslide, when you go back to old ways and old rhythms, to kind of gently call yourself back and say, hold on, because at the end of the day, it's just awareness. And I hope that if anything, all of you have walk away with some more awareness that the next time you're ready to say to someone, oh, I got you, look around and see, does somebody got you? And if no
Yes.
one has got you, you have got you always, right? We got to put ourselves first. We have to be in tune to our bodies when we are having any kind of relationship.
Yes. And it is very much easier said than done. I mean, it is very much. And I'm constantly telling my clients, it took you X number of years to get here. You're not going to be able to get out of it like that because, like you said, Karina, we can't handle a lot of change. I mean, unless you like blow everything up and start all over, but a lot of times we can't handle that much change. And as I said to somebody the other day, a leopard does not actually change its spots. So we can come to terms with where we are and what we are. Um, Even as someone who talks about overfunctioning, I witness when I actually overfunction. I witness what happens in my body. But where we have become as a society now is we don't want to feel. And that's the unfortunate part. That's the feminine being rejected that we have to feel because our feelings say something. So, Karina just noted, put on the chat that I have got two different things that are coming up. First of all, I decided to create a community in Wellbee that is called Heal Your Wellness Wound. It is designed just to continue on this conversation. So I did make it public so anyone can join. You can click on this link. I'm sure that when we have the video, we'll have the link somewhere around that video. And the other thing is that I just decided that I wanted to start doing healing circles because I just finished a 3 month coaching program with a couple of people that are in this group. And literally, that's what we did. I mean, you guys have enough information. You know what to do. You know what you're doing isn't right. You know that you need to make a change, but you just don't know how to make the change. And so that's where my coaching has kind of started going into like, let's heal the wound. And if anybody wants to speak on that, feel free, either unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. But Karina, did you put that link in there as well?
I did. Right above, I have your
Okay.
link on Heal Your Wellness Wound Healing Circles.
Yes.
Earlier, I also put the link to the Facebook group as
Good.
well as the Wellbe group that you have.
Good, good, good. Awesome. Cool. So, if anybody has any questions, feel free to either unmute themselves, raise their hand, drop it in the chat. We do the Wellbe community events once a month. But what we have discovered in the last couple of months of working together is that Wellbe is transitioning. Kind of like what I said earlier about when I first decided what the wellness wound was, it's morphing into something more. And that is what the Wellbe community is morphing into. So I know that Karina isn't quite yet ready to share all of the amazing things that she's been doing in the back end. But for any of you that are already joined the Wellbe community, I just want to say that you, first of all, your participation has been amazing. Thank you for showing up. And if you're not in it, please look at something. Even if you are not a practitioner and you are just not just a, but you are an enthusiast, we are creating something that's unique that no one has ever seen. And so I'm just inviting you. If you have anything you'd like to share, this is the Facebook group is not my Facebook group. It's the Wellbe Facebook group, even though I'm posting, but I'd love to see you guys post on it. I'd love to see your blogs. We support you in the newsletter. We support your events. We have what we're trying to do is build the sisterhood community. It doesn't have to be sisters because there are men here too. We're building what true community looks like. And that looks like having open and honest conversations, being authentic, and sharing because that's what they did. You know, Karina and I come from the same environment where before the internet, we shared information by speaking to each other. We shared stories, we shared recipes, we shared techniques, all by speaking. And unfortunately, even though the internet has allowed for us all the way around the world to get together, it also has hindered us. So we have to find a balance there too.
Thank you so much, Farhana, and especially with your talk today, teaching us so much and helping us to bring so much awareness to ourselves. I want to thank you for also introducing where Wellbe might go. And she is right, we're not ready to disclose, but it's enough to say for now that we are building a community where people can feel supported. Where the idea is not to navigate your life alone, to be able to meet people across the world, get together, not just through platforms that are out there like Facebook and Instagram, where people are just commenting and there's so much noise. This is more meeting people, whether through Zoom, through a phone call. You don't have to be face to face or in the same city, but to be able to connect and say, I am here and I want to walk with you because life is hard. Whether we are over functioning, whether we're in particular environments that we feel like we're drowning and we want that support, Wellbe is that place that you could feel like you could reach out. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your work is, but it's so that you reach out and there are people there that can say to you, yes, I'll walk with you, I'll help you, and not for anything, just because we're all here and we're just travelers.
Very good. And then I'm going to go ahead and say that our guest speaker for September is actually here. And I'm going to ask if Zioni would unmute herself and tell us a little bit about what you're going to be bringing to the table in September.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yes, I'm Zion Hamashiach. I'm a transformational coach and I really believe in transformation, true change, lasting change. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs and women create the change that they need in their business as well as in their wellness. A lot of us get caught up with unfinished product projects, having bought into big assets for our business, but never really get them completed and never really bring them to the finish line. For instance, we may have been talking about a course that we are wanting to create, or we may have been talking about a book for years that we've been wanting to write. A lot of business owners I've been talking to have go high level or a CRM that they're not fully using. They're not fully set up to optimize all of the automations. and they made that big investment and it's kind of just sitting there. So I help them bring those projects and those assets to the finish line so that they have more visibility and they can flow into more freedom, more time freedom, and more financial freedom because they have brought these projects to the finish line. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in September.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I just want to, because Dr. Shiva's in the house, so I just want to ask her to say a few words because she was our guest speaker in June.
I just wanted to be here tonight. Thank you. I was like so intrigued. It was so lovely to meet you and Karina and everyone who was here from Wellbe last time that I wanted to come out. So I'm just a participant tonight, Farhana. Thank
Hello.
you.
Yeah, I do have to comment because I was the one that put your, like the clip for from the last one where you were talking about alignment. I'm like, this is it. And I'm like, Karina, I've been spending all these hours at this desk and I'm happy. This is alignment. So thank you all for showing up today. And Karina, do you have any final words? We wanted to make sure that we allotted enough time for any questions or any comments, or if anybody has anything else to add. This is a community event. So, Gabriella, Marla, if you guys want to add something, please do. Um,
Yeah.
before
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Zioni, we can't wait for your event in September, where you talk about the changes and the inspiration. Last time we met, I was inspired after our conversation. So I can only imagine what that gathering is going to be like. These gatherings are completely free. There is no registration. If you want to be in the loop to get our newsletters, that's where we do our invites for these gatherings, as well as the Facebook group community. I have put some links on the chat. I've put Farhana's links on there. I've also put her Wellbe group. But if you haven't heard about Wellbe and you'd like to join, I just put the link on the chat. It's wellbe.social, open and free to anyone to come in, and you'll be notified by newsletter of all the events that are happening and what we're doing in all the gatherings. We do love featuring practitioners, coaches, teachers. So if you feel that you would like to host one of these gatherings and you would like to be able to speak about the work that you do, please reach out to Farhana or myself on Wellbe, and we will make that happen because we love spreading the work that you do, and we feel that Wellbe is there to for that avenue for all of you to be able to shine your light and reach the people who are actually looking for you, but they're looking for you on Google search engines, which make it really difficult. So please, I got a comment here. Marla would be fantastic to present. Marla, please don't hesitate to reach out to either Farhana or myself. Let's make that happen. But again, really thank you to all of you who came today and took time out of your Thursday evening to come and join us today. I hope to continue seeing you on Wellbe, on the Facebook group community. Please stay in touch. Don't disappear. And I see a lot of emojis and a lot of love. So thank you. And thank you to Farhana for taking this on and coming today and sharing your knowledge. I think if anything, just leave today with asking yourself, what is it that I can let go? Because if you came out of this conversation with even 10% of lighter shoulders, then I think Farhana and I are going to be like, yes, we did good work today. So that's what we hope to do. Just relieve you from the work and the burdens that you're carrying.
thank you so much. We'll see you guys. We have a pivot that's happening in August, which is why you heard about June, you heard about July, and you heard about September. So keep in touch with us. Make sure that you're on any of the social media platforms. Originally, Wellbee Social was to take everybody off of social media, but let's get real. people are scrollers and they're on Facebook and so and probably on Instagram. So we're making the Facebook community a little bit more chatty and the real work and the deeper work for the Wellbee community. So with all that, I guess we're done.